I'm experiencing heart inflammation due to the second COVID vaccine and the fact that I'm an anxious shit. So I can't work right now because one, I'm falling asleep a lot, and two, because work makes me anxious and I can't recover being anxious. So, um, I'm trying to occupy my time, so I figured I'd make a YouTube video. I don't have much to talk about, but I read two books, so I'll talk about those. Because they're different views on similar philosophical concepts. Um, First is by Candide by Voltaire. And just a quick summary of this book. This dude has a teacher called Pangloss, which means, I don't know if I said it right, but it means all tongue or all talk. And Pangloss is an optimist and a strict determinist. He thinks that all is well, all will work out for the good in the end, and that suffering is sometimes necessary to get you where you need to be. And Candide, I don't know how to say his name. I'll call him Candide. It might be wrong. Candide seems to think that Pangloss is the wisest of all men, so he buys the whole optimism thing and he goes about his life. He gets a kiss from this pretty lady. Because of getting a kiss from this pretty lady, he gets kicked out of the castle. He gets kicked out of the castle he's in. He has to go work for this army in order to survive. The army ends up raiding the castle he used to be in, fucking his pretty lady up, raping her, then selling her, and Candide ends up finding her like a bunch of times. Um, but he also is getting whipped every which way. Loses his lady to a richer suitor. Finds the land of El Dorado, which is the city of gold, where everything is perfect, like his old teacher Pangloss says, but it's not perfect because it doesn't have his lady. So the scientists of El Dorado help him escape, and he escapes with lots of their gold because they don't need it, and their diamonds and the like, and he uses it to basically make his way. Um, well, he had already made his way from Europe to the New World, and then make his way back to Europe, and sends his like manservant to go get his lady from the rich man, while he makes accommodations in Europe. By the time they reunite, his lady that he's been waiting for is ugly, and he doesn't have much money, and he has enough to make a farm. The end of the book, they're like, uh, they talk to a farmer next door to them, and the farmer's like, just cultivate your own garden and do all that you can do in your life, um, and you'll find happiness, because all you can only control your controllables, the things that you as a deterministic agent have a say in. Everything else and everyone else around you, you can't control, and if you're going to try to control them, it's just going to make you unhappy in the end. I think that's what Voltaire's trying to say. But then I read this book, and by read it, I mean I read the first two chapters, lost it while trying to walk my feeble ass to go get Frosted Flakes, um, and fish for my cat, and because my cat has tuna fish morning and night as a treat, or else he meows at me. I spoil him, and Anyway, I was reading this, I lost it. I think it's for the best because, well, I'm kind of like Pangloss, and then also because, uh, because, you know, I think someone could use to know the greatest secret more than me. But it's also for the best because then I didn't end up reading the entire thing. I did find a PDF copy and read the summaries of the chapters, but I'm not good at reading text online. I have to have like a physical copy, so I just read the summaries of the chapters, which is probably the best thing about this book is it's got a bullet point summary after every chapter. And so basically, all she's saying in this book is that the enlightened want, like, we are the energy of the universe. She calls it the awareness of the universe, which is kind of what we are. We're like the universe noticing itself, which I liked that description. But we aren't our body, so we live forever, and our awareness isn't really all that is us. Like, our feelings aren't all that is us because they leave, and if they were us, then we would be stuck with them forever. And I was like, well, my anxiety never leaves me. So does that mean that I am anxiety? Probably. The other thing that Voltaire says is that you can live a life of anxiety or boredom. At the end, well, it says that, and then they find happiness in their garden by cultivating their garden. And a French lady says something similar in her letters. I forget her name, but she also says you can either have a life of suffering or boredom. And she also said that men desire women and women desire to be desired by men, which the straight part of me says yes to that. The gay part of me says, well, how do I fit in to that? Gay men just want gay men. There's no game there. That's why it's just it's much less stressful. I feel like it's more stressful in certain respects, but as far as like the dating scene, like I'd rather date a man than court a woman. It's just going to be much less stressful for me. Right now, I'm not dating anyone. I'm just reading my books and trying to recover from my heart inflammation. Um, but you know, I don't really know. Rhonda also says that you can like manifest good things in your life. I'm a strict determinist. I don't agree with that. I do think that lots of things are self-fulfilling prophecies. So, like, if you think you're shitty at something, you're going to be shitty at it. If you, like, have confidence, you'll probably be pretty good at it. And that's just, like, one thing. Like, if you're happy to be someplace, you're gonna have fun at that place. And if you're, like, pissed to be alive, you're probably going to not have fun being alive. I mean, I still, like, say that, and then I'm, like, pissed at being alive, and I'm like, why am I so sad? Well, because you're such a fucking fuck, man. He says as he dies from heart inflammation. I don't really know who's right. I think Pangloss is right in some respects. I just think that lots of things. But I say that, and then I'm like, well, if I'm determined. Like, Emily Dickinson suffered her entire life. But then we got the poetry of Emily Dickinson. Walt Whitman has this great poem. Let me see if I can find it. It's like the only thing I've read past my bookmark, and I marked it. It's, it's one of my favorite poems from Walt Whitman. Okay, okay, I found it, guys. I found it. It's called Sometimes with One I Love. Sometimes with one I love, I fill myself with rage for fear I have fused unreturned love. But now I think there's no unreturned love. The pay is certain one way or another. I loved a certain person ardently, and my love was not returned. Yet out of that love I have written these songs. So, like, even if you think it's not for the worst, like, suffering does bring good things. But to think that you aren't going to suffer, that's, well, then you're just going to be bored. You're going to have no story to tell. People even tell stories about suffering that hasn't occurred to them. That's when you know you're really bored. Because, like, you want to suffer. Your life is so devoid of suffering. But then, and this is brought up in Candide 2, is enjoyment not enjoying things and having something to gripe about? Or is enjoyment pure happiness that comes with uh, good experience? Well, I find, I mean, I'm a bit of a masochist, I gotta say. Like, I get off on my own suffering. But I don't think that's everyone. Life. Guess I should just cultivate my own garden and see what grows. Who's to say? Who's to say how it's all structured? I don't know. These are my well, other than still reading Leaves of Grass because this edition is fucking huge, and also reading Faust because that's an epic poem, and I haven't finished either. I'm reading this book because I'm trying to give string theory another shot, even though like 11 dimensions will really scare me. Like that's overcomplicated. Uh, but I'm trying to give it a shot, and then I'm reading this too. And I found this in a little library, and I'm trying to figure out how to be more musical. This book told me that there's no such thing as being musical, you're musical enough. And then it said something about notes, and I was like, I don't know what those are. So I don't think I'm musical enough. I just like to listen to lots of music. Well, I know what notes are, I'm just saying, like, I don't know the different. I don't know how it all works together. I don't know how to read music. I wish I did. I'm dying. If I drop dead, just know that everything I've said is with the intention of love in my heart for all people. And if it wasn't interpreted in that way, well, I tried.